도널드 트럼프 대통령이 아일랜드 총리와의 대화가 유럽을 또 한 번 크게 놀라게 했는데요. 처음에는 웃으면서 분위기가 좋았는데 이제 대놓고 할 말을 전부하는 모습이 나왔고 아일랜드 총리의 표정이 얼어붙었는데 한국도 반드시 이 대화를 참조해야 한다고 합니다. 아일랜드 기업의 한 소리들이 한국 기업을 향해서 하는 말과 같을 것이라는 말도 나오는데 트럼프 대통령의 대화가 어떤 식으로 펼쳐지는지 살펴보도록 하겠습니다.
Tremendous business relationships with Ireland, and that will only get stronger. The relationship we have personally and every other way is very, very strong and very, very good. So I just want to welcome you to Washington, D.C. and to our country, and thank you very much.
May I thank you, President? It's a great honor for me to be here to celebrate St. Patrick's with you.
Right.
And I thank you for your hospitality and the warmth of your reception. And I commend you in terms of the work that you're doing, particularly in terms of the pursuit of peace, which we discussed earlier. And I think that's going well. And you really have, in the first sort of 100 days of this government, you've done some extraordinary things very quickly.
Thank you.
Everybody's watching in that respect. So
Thank you.
Delighted to be here. It's an honor to be here.
Well, it's a great honor to have you, and special people, very special people. I know a lot of Irish, and growing up in New York, I know a couple of your people that used to live in that beautiful Ireland, and now they're here, but they love your country very much. You know, they have a great feeling toward your country.
They have, and a lot come back for holidays and
they come back.
Stuff like that, and checking out their family, ancestry, and things like that. You know.
Great, fantastic people.
Some go to Doonbeg as well. Yeah.
And they we love Doonbeg. I love them. I don't know if I'll ever see it again. Maybe I won't, but
we would like
I
to
think
come
I
back
will.
and see it.
We'll get there. We're going to get there. It's a beautiful place, wonderful place. Any questions?
Mr. President, on tariffs, how far
Yeah,
are you
please.
worried? President Trump, how worried are you about the counter tariffs from the EU, which were announced yesterday? And also, how worried should Ireland be, given the fact that it has a massive trade surplus with the US, over $50 billion? Neil Martin might be quite nervous about what you're going to tell him today.
Well, I don't think he looks nervous to me. And if he was nervous, he wouldn't show it. No, we do have a massive deficit with Ireland, because Ireland was very smart. They took our pharmaceutical companies away from presidents that didn't know what they were doing. And, you know, it's too bad that happened. It's a tremendous job I give. Look, the Irish are smart. Yes, smart people. And you took our pharmaceutical companies and other companies, but, you know, through taxation and proper taxation, they made it very, very good for companies to move over there. And we had presidents and people that were involved in this that had no idea what they were doing, and they lost big segments of our economy. The European Union treats us very badly. They have for years. I saw that. I had it out with them in my first term. Did well, but we had to solve other problems, and we did. But European Union's been very tough, and it's our turn too. You know, we get a turn at that also, but they have not been fair. They sue our companies and win massive amounts of money. They sued Apple, won $17 billion, and they use that for other reasons, I guess, or to run the European Union. So I'm not knocking it. They're doing what they should be doing, perhaps, for the European Union, but it does create ill will. And as you know, we're going to be doing reciprocal tariffs. So whatever they charge us, we're charging them. Nobody can complain about that. Whatever it is, it doesn't even matter what it is. If they charge us 25 or 20% or 10% or 2% or 200%, then that's what we're charging them. And so I don't know why people get upset about that, because there's nothing more fair than that. And we had a problem with Ontario, and they dropped that when I let them know what we were going to be doing. They dropped it immediately, so I'm glad, because electricity, you shouldn't be playing with electricity. It affects people's lives. Actually their life. I mean, it can affect, depending on weather, it can affect their life, so we can't do that. And it doesn't make sense that our country allows electricity to be made in another country and sold into us. Who did that deal for the United States? Okay, I looked at that long ago, and I said that's not something that's very smart. So we've had a lot of bad trade policies, and yet we're doing very well right now. But we're doing well because I won the election. If I didn't win the election, you would have had a very bad period. I think a lot of the stock market going down was because of a really bad 4 years that we had. When you look at inflation and all of the other problems wars and inflation and so many other problems. But we're going to have very good years. We had, I don't know if you saw a little thing like the cost of eggs, little to you, but big to people out there, down almost 30% in the last few days. We got it down. We did a lot of things. We have a great Secretary of Agriculture, and we did a lot of things that got the cost of eggs down very substantially, and so many other things. A very big thing that I'm very happy with is oil is down to $65 a barrel, and that's faster than I would have anticipated. We put on the gas, we stepped in the gas in order to get oil, and what's happening. So we're getting that down, and when energy comes down, prices are going to be coming down with it. So in a very short period of time, we've done a very good job. And I think that the tariffs that we're talking about, and again, reciprocal, I think that the tariffs, there are some cases where they're a little beyond reciprocal because, we've been abused for a long time as a country. We have been abused really for a long time, and we will be abused no longer. Okay.
Are you going to retaliate to the EU retaliation?
Education, sir, would you describe for us, is this meeting your vision by cutting about half the workforce? And what responsibility do you feel to the civil servants who have now lost their jobs? Many of them worked at the Department of Education during their first term.
Sure, I do. I feel very badly, and but many of them don't work at all. Many of them never showed up to work. Many of them never showed up to work, Kelly, and unfortunately, and that's not good. And when we cut, we go, and that's what I had a number of meetings with a lot of people over the last couple of months. When we cut, we want to cut, but we want to cut the people that aren't working or not doing a good job. We're keeping the best people. And Linda McMahon is a real professional, actually a very sophisticated business person. And she cut a large number, but she kept the best people. And we'll see how it all works out. But our country was run very badly. I mean, whether it was that or contracts that were signed that was so bad, so obviously bad, and I go through them in speeches. I could go through them all day long. I could read for billions and hundreds of billions of dollars, and all of that fat and waste and fraud and abuse is being taken out. But it's incredible what's happened. Now, Department of Education's maybe more so than any other place has a lot of people that can be cut. They're, number one, not showing up to work. Number two, they're not doing a good job. And if you take a look at our education process, and if you look at the charts, because they have numerous charts where they do the top 40, we're at number 37, 38, 39, and 40. And recently they hit, during Biden's last few days, they hit last. So they were number 40, and yet we're number 1 in cost per pupil. So it's pretty bad, but we have a dream, and you know what the dream is? We're going to move the Department of Education. We're going to move education into the states, so that the states, instead of bureaucrats working in Washington, so that the states can run education. And you have Norway, you have Denmark, you have Sweden, you have Finland, you have various countries that do very well. You also have China that does very well in education, which is a pretty big tribute to China, I must say. 1.4 billion, and they're in the top 10, and it's pretty amazing. So we can't blame size anymore. Normally you'd blame size. It's too big. How can you do it? But China does it. So we think when you move it back to Iowa and Indiana and all the states that run so well, there's so many, I could name 30, maybe almost 40. Those will be as good as Denmark. Those will be as good as Norway, and they'll be as good as any of these. I believe they'll be as good as any. Now, then you're going to have 10 that won't be so great. You're going to have 5 that will not be good at all, but we'll work with them and we'll get them to be good. But what we want to do is always school choice, but we're going to do school choice, and we're doing it. But we want education to be moved back where the states run education, where the parents of the children will be running education, where governors that are doing a very good job will be running education, not run. I drive through the city and I see like so many buildings, Department of Education, Department of big buildings, and by the way, they're empty. Nobody shows up to work. So I think Linda did a very good job.
Mr. President, do you have a meeting with Vladimir Putin scheduled or a conversation? What would be your
I
message to
I
him?
won't comment on that, but we had a great success yesterday. We have a full ceasefire if it kicks in. We have to see. It's up to Russia now. But we've had a good relationship with both parties, actually, and we'll see. We'll be knowing people are going to Russia right now as we speak, and hopefully we can get a ceasefire from Russia. And if we do, I think that would be 80% of the way to getting this horrible bloodbath finished. It's a bloodbath is taking place over there. On average, 2,000 to 3,000 young people a week are being killed in that stupid war that would have never happened if I were president. So we have people going over there, Mr. VP. Do you have anything to say about it? Because you're very much involved. What's
Yes,
going to
sir.
happen?
Well, we've got some conversations that are happening on the phone and in person with some of our representatives over the next couple of days. As the President said, we think that we're in a very good place where the Ukrainians have agreed to a ceasefire, and we're now going to see whether we can get the Russians to agree to a ceasefire too, and we'll certainly have news on that when we find out that news.
Are you confident that Vladimir Putin will keep the ceasefire, considering that he's broken them in the past?
We haven't spoken to him yet with substance, because we just found out and we just were able to get Ukraine to agree. So we're going to know very soon. I've gotten some positive messages, but a positive message means nothing. This is a very serious situation. This is a situation that could lead to World War III. And Biden should have never let it happen. Incompetence allowed this to happen. This shouldn't have happened. October 7th in the Middle East should have never happened with Israel. The horrible leaving, the way they left Afghanistan should have never happened. Inflation should have never happened. You know, we have great inflation numbers, by the way, just got released. Inflation is way down, and it's based on what we've done, and we've done it in a very short period of time. You know, we had virtually no inflation. For 4 years, we had almost no inflation, and when these characters took over, we went from no inflation to the worst inflation probably in the history of our country. So it's very interesting. Go ahead.
Are you going to retaliate against
And by the way, I have to speak of inflation. I love these socks. What's with these socks?
It's in honor of the T-shirts.
I'm trying to stay focused, but I'm very impressed with the VP's socks.
Mr. President,